context, and you have to place this particular bad faith within the context of industrial relations framework, not outside it. The Honorable Minister of Labour and Employment was talking industrial relations, not any other language. So he didn't mean any harm. He was just saying, yes, that CBA was executed or not executed in bad faith.
You have said that doctors, are essential services and that they're not supposed to go on strike. It is morally wrong, but it is not legally wrong, is it?
As a worker, based on this particular act, that is the Trade Dispute Act, Pt.4, which is the laws of the Federation, it is legally wrong.
Is it?
Yeah.
What part of the law says
that? It's called T9. Trade Dispute Act T9, Laws of the Federation 2004. It says that it listed a number of sectors that cannot go on strike because they are on essential services. It says an act to empower the president to prescribe, to even prescribe. But we're not talking about that, are we? We are talking about how to get the doctors back to work.
So how do you think this would eventually proceed? Are you confident that perhaps before the end of this week, the doctors will be back at work?
As I said, I can't predict the future, but we have commenced to bring them back on table and dialogue further and reach a conclusion that will be to the benefit of all Nigerians.
You are confident?
We are holding a meeting tomorrow.
What about the time frame for implementing the things that they have, the agreement that they have signed with you and the Minister of Health?
Let me give you some of the if time will permit. Okay, they said the entry point, they have problem with their entry points. They said also arising from the skipping issue. They brought up some MOUs signed by the 7th Senate in 2014, and that signed with the Speaker in January 2016. We adopted, and we gave a timeline that it must be finalized on or before the conclusion of the budget of 2018. And then of the one on also skipping, the same matter of skipping, we said by the end of October. And the one of IPs, we said by the end of October. And then the one of payment of the salary, we said on or before the end of October, actions must be completed. These are the timelines we agreed on in these terms of settlements.
So if by the end of October, government has not kept its own part of the bargain, would the doctors be justified in embarking on an industrial action?
They're already on industrial action. They're already on industrial action. We're not supposed to be even dialoguing with them because they are now on industrial action. But we're not minding the contents of Section 18 of the Industrial Trade Dispute Act that states that when a conciliator is appointed, that is when there's conciliation ongoing, workers should not go on strike. Employers should not lock out. We're not minding the provisions of that particular act. We are still going ahead to talk with the doctors tomorrow. And when we talk with them, we'll now urge them to go back to work, and government will continue trying to fulfill its own end of the obligation.
My point is, I'm hopeful. I want to share your optimism that perhaps before the end of this week, the doctors will call off their strike. I mean, whatever misunderstanding was there, they will give government a chance to carry out the promises that it has said it will do. But I'm saying that assuming, by the end of October, these timelines that you have given, we have September and October to implement some of the things that have been agreed here. Assuming by the end of October, government doesn't carry out its own side of the bargain, would the doctors be justified in going on strike?
The doctors will need to go back to work first. They need to go back to work to help the government fulfill its own end of obligations. Now, for instance, they need to submit their nominal rules. If they're out there in the, carrying placards on the streets, how do we go about doing that? So they need to, the normalcy should
my assumptions are, a bit clear. I'm just saying that I'm hoping with you, let's just assume that they go back to work this week and say we're giving government a chance to implement what he says it will do. In the 2 months that you have said you will do certain things, if government doesn't do it, will the doctors be justified in going on strike?
I would prefer you ask me if government does not do it. not whether they will be justified in going on strike.
Would they be justified in resuming it? Because they never really call off a strike. What they do is they suspend it, and then they can say, we can resume the strike at any point in time.
Let's not talk about the strike. Government will hopefully meet its own end of the terms of settlement.
And if it doesn't?
I can't say that. I can't be negative. I can't afford to be negative. We will fulfill our own ends of terms of settlement.
Well, it's definitely a fine place to leave it. We hope that the doctors will come to the negotiating table, and we do hope that there will be an amicable resolution of the crisis that is currently rocking the health sector. I think it's also important to state here that we did try to reach out to the National Association of Resident Doctors. Their phones seem to be unreachable throughout the whole of yesterday. Perhaps we do hope that that is not, one way to avoid going to the negotiating table, but that in the best interest of the country, they will be talking to the government tomorrow. But we have to thank you most kindly, Mrs. Clara Dike, Special Advisor Technical to the Minister of Labour, for coming on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you.
The program will continue in just a moment. Please stay with us.